We all do it like talk show, yeah, you know. Unfortunately, I haven't prepared any silly questions for you, like what pets do you have at home or something like that. Let's talk about Ruby instead. So Jiří was one of the people who started Ruby meetups here in Prague. Can you tell us when was it?
Okay, so 11 years ago there was a conference in Ostrava on Rails, and we met there with some guys from Prague, and we started meeting in our place. It's Letna, it's Fractal Bar, and so we meet for 11 years. First year we made a nice conference. It was 2008. It was Euruco, European Ruby Conference. It was very nice. And since then we meet every first Wednesday. So it's a special day. We cooperate with Defense Ministry in Czech Republic. They start the sirens in noon at 12 o'clock. You can hear the sirens on the first Wednesday every month, and it's a signal for us to meet in the evening to have a Ruby meetup. So it's the best thing. If you hear the noise, the sirens, so just remember, in the evening I have to go to Letna to meet other Rubyists.
Yeah, the meetups take place in the Fractal Bar in Letna, and you are all, of course, most than welcome to join us any first Wednesday of the month. Have you ever tried to change the place to some other venue?
Well, I am very liberal in a political view, but I am very conservative, so I never changed the place. There was one try. We moved to Prague 6, from Prague 7 to Prague 6. It was very difficult for me and for the others too, because we do not have the need to read an internet where we meet. When we hear the sound, we go to Letna, and it's the best to go to that place. There were more than 120 meetings of Rubyists. 120 meetings. So it's a very conservative meeting.
How many people do you usually attend?
Well, we reserve a whole room there. Sometimes we have talks, and the room isn't large enough. But sometimes in summer or so, there are only 10 people attending. But it's always fun. After the Ruby meetup, sometimes the Python guys come in and they drink a lot of alcohol, so they ruin our meetup too early, because just after the meetup we go to the next bar to drink alcohol. So they are ruining it a little bit too early, and sometimes even the PHP guys come to see us. So sometimes it's a little bit dangerous. Some fights or something like this. But we Rubyists are very good.
Yeah, but if you want to try to explain David Grudel why PHP sucks, you are welcome to go there. He usually shows up eventually. So, I would like to invite one more person here. He doesn't know about it, but Raja, can you tell us something about your uplifting meetups? Because you started this thing, and I would like to. I think we all want to hear more.
Okay, hey guys, I'm Raja. I'm from Uplifting. I'm you could call it a leader of that gang of around 35 people, and yeah, it's an awesome opportunity to invite you to the second day of next month, because we will have a Uplifting meetup. It will be about what it will be about. I think there will be something about closure, why the closure is the best thing after the sliced bread. So that could be something new. And then we will have something about Ruby, and I think about JavaScript as well. So definitely come. We are welcoming folks, and we would love to have you there. You can find us on Meetup as a uplifting meetup. And right now it's full, but I've just heard that we might be increasing capacity for up for next 10 to 15 people. So if you are really interested, just put yourself in the waiting list, and I think you might just get in. So that's it.
So thank you. And as for other events that may occur, for those who are new to this group of Ruby enthusiasts, you can find us on Facebook or on csrug.cz, yeah, csrug.cz, and you can find all upcoming events there. There are events in Brno, in Ostrava, and in Prague, usually announced, and the Facebook group CSRUG is like our main meeting place online, and you can find out what's going on, and you can even ask questions there and find someone who will support you during your growth and during your learning process in Ruby and Ruby on Rails. So, and one more thing.
I have one more thing, please. When you design your databases and you make a company name there and you are using those relational databases, do not write Varchar 20 or something like that, because, for example, our CSRUG is in Czech, Československé sdružení uživatelů programovacího jazyka Ruby. And we need to put the whole name into your database. For example, if a Minister of Finance writes us a letter, they write only Československé sdružení on the letter. They do not have enough letters in their databases, so please think on our group. We would like to be in your database as well.
So yeah, important advice from our main Rubyist here in Prague.
Tak krásné odpoledne, já se teda omlouvám na začátek, že to nebude v angličtině, nevěděli jsme o tom, zjistili jsme to asi den předtím a úplně nebá chvíli na toto předělávat. Tak ještě bych se chtěl omluvit za to, že tady půjdu já, Radek, a Dominik nepřijde, nebo on tam je, ale bude to maličko upravený ten program, takže asi bychom mohli začít. Tak já se jmenuji Radek Forgač, programuji asi 5 let, nebo 4-5 let, zhruba tak. A tohle vlastně je o příběhu, o tom, jak jsem nastoupil do upliftingu a o tom, jak jsem musel zvládnout svůj první projekt v Railsech, potom, co jsem vlastně programoval primárně v PHPčku. Co nás trápilo, nebo co bylo tím cílem toho, že vznikal ten projekt, bylo, že jsme neustále museli otravovat lidi ohledně toho, aby posílali měsíční reporty. Používáme toggle na trackování vlastně spáleného času na projektech a na jednotlivých taskách. Nevědomost, kolik hodin od začátku měsíce odpracováno, to byla další věc, co nás trápilo. Dost často se stávalo, že například klient měl zaplacený určitý budget, na určitém budgetu nějaké hodiny a my jsme pracovali víc, než bylo potřeba, nebo než bylo zaplaceno a pak vznikaly různé nedohody s klientem o tom, jestli to má zaplatit nebo ne a dohadování o tom, jestli to zaplatí. Komplikované měsíční výkazy pro některé klienty, to byl další aspekt toho, proč to vzniklo a z důvodu toho, že někteří klienty, jak to jsou korporáty a další takovéhle kolosy, tak potřebují ty exporty v různých excelských tabulkách a musí to splnit určité aspekty a pro náš back office to bylo velice náročné to neustále předělávat a reformátovat ty výkazy, co my exportujeme. Tak to už vypadá login screen té aplikace. Je to teda postavené na Railsech s devicem a to logování přes Google Out. Nic vlastně složitého. Co je corporating a jaké jsou jeho výhody? Je to interní systém na automaci výkazů a výkazů hodin. Můžeme kdykoliv exportovat výkazy, a to i skrz projekt. Je možnost tam exportovat veškeré výkazy pro uživatele, tak i pro projekt, anebo volit jednotlivé uživatele v tom projektu. Možnost párovat výkazy s fakturami a platbami na jednom místě. Na čem pracoval Dominik na tom projektu, tak bylo vlastně hlavně párování s exportama z FIO-banky a následné ukládání do driveu na Google disku. Co chceme upravit dál, tak je vytváření těch templateů. To ještě nemáme úplně zprovozněné, ale bude to fungovat tak, že člověk si tam vlastně poskládá v nějakém builderu, jak ten template toho výkazu bude vypadat a na základě toho bude moct potom exportovat ten výkaz pro toho klienta. Notifikace o nadměrném počtu hodin oproti plánu, jelikož, jak jsem mluvil o tom, že tam vznikají pak ty neshody, tak aby nám to i samo psalo a notifikovalo nás to o tom, když jsme překročili ten limit těch hodin pro toho klienta a nemuseli jsme to zešit a manuálně kontrolovat. Párování plateb a faktur pomocí API FIO banky. To, jak jsem mluvil, to zmíněno už bylo, a to je o tom těch spárování těch hodin a výkazů. Automatické nahrávání faktur do Google Driveu, to zase souvisí s tím z AFI od Filbanky. Tak, teď si ukážeme zhruba, jak to funguje. Tak já budu pokračovat teda dál. Základem toho je si vyplnit toggle API, které najdete v togglu, díky kterému můžeme poté přistupovat do účtu a exportovat výkazy hodin na základě toho zvoleného projektu. Pak tam je určitá tabulka pro vytváření projektů, kam se uživatelé assignují a přikládají po každé projekt ID toho projektu, které mají v togglu, díky kterému potom můžeme vyexportovat všechny ty projekty najednou na tom projektu a nejenom pro toho jednotlivého uživatele. Dále je tam možnost exportovat pouze pro všechny uživatele. A tak já se pokusím to nějak předvést. Tak dále, jakož ve firmě používáme písmenné zkratky, tak jsme tam přidali funkci nicknameů, což například pro Dominika je DOS. Tak. Dále tady máme projekty, kde při vytvoření projektu zvolíme pouze jeho jméno. To zatím nemůžeme exportovat, ale když se jako uživatel zvrátíme zpátky sem, můžeme připojit se do toho projektu, zložit. Tak, tohle assignování projektu již můžeme exportovat, kdyby tam bylo více uživatelů, což bohužel v tuto chvíli nezvládneme, jelikož je to celé takové veselé, tak máme tady data range picker, zvolíme oblast dní, ve které chceme exportovat, popřípadně jestli všichni uživatelé nebo pouze jednoho uživatele. Tady si zvolíme, kam to chceme uložit. A ze stránky nám vyleze taková jednoduchá tabulka s něma a s agregovanýma táskama. Jelikož dost často lidi to bují stylem takovým, že v tom dni mají třeba 10 záznamů o tom, že dělají něco na DevOps, jako Dominik, ale nemají to pojmenovaný, tak to potom vypadá zhruba takhle. Duration je v sekundách, v číslech bohužel není to oddělovaný, takže tady ani neuvidíme pořádně, jak to je. To je zase... Ale tady můžeme zobrazit všechny si usery, nastavit jako uživatele nebo exportovat pouze na nich jako takových. Se stejným stylem, zvolením toho datumu a exportování. Tak to je asi k základní funkcionalitě všechno. Máte nějaké dotazy?
Já bych se zeptal. Ty jsi říkal, že jsi dělal předtím PHPčko. Co bylo pro tebe nejtěžší, když to byl tvůj první projekt Ruby, tak jakoby přejít z toho PHPčko do toho Ruby, jakoby, co byly to největší challenge pro tebe?
No, dobrá otázka.
Nebo
Ve chvíli, kdy se odehrávala jako situace toho, že web byl pomalej a jakože úplně bylo řešení jako škálovat do nesmyslu a toho, že vlastně PHPčko jako není úplně fast enough.
Já už nějaký otázku, já jsem taky dělal v PHPčku, už něm nedělám. A já když jako znám nějaký jazyk a pak se učím novej, tak občas prostě v tom novém jazyku je něco, co prostě mě fakt ohromí a říkám si, to je úžasný. A oproti tomu předchozímu jazyku, ale něco takového v Ruby třeba Ruby neumím, tak jako mě zajímá, jestli v Ruby je něco, co tě ohromí oproti PHPčku.
Jako první je samozřejmě ohmatá rychlost, jakože celkově prostě veškeré javky jsou mnohem rychlejší. Pak, že PHPčko je oproti jako Ruby ve všech jako v docela věcech jako takový neflexibilní, nebo ne neflexibilní, to je špatný slovo, ale ne úplně user-friendly nebo jako dev-friendly pro toho člověka, jako na ten vývoj. A celkově takový prostě nebo jako ne úplně jak popsat ten jako hlavní jako main rozdíl, co mi přijde, jako na Ruby přijde lepší, ale jako sedím je líp a baví mě třeba prostě, jak Railsy mají jako udělanou krásně jako generování jako scaffoldů a modelů a všeho a když prostě se člověk vezme, i když se ten symfony a tak dále, tak prostě nevím, tam mi to jakoby nepřišlo tak jako cool a hlavně dokumentace je super u Railsů a u Ruby jako.
Kolik času to zabralo vyrobit tu aplikaci a kolik z toho bylo z Wizardu vyrobený z toho Railsu a kolik se tam muselo dostat?
Tak zabralo to zhruba, se nepletu, mýho času 70 hodin, nebo 60, ale bylo to s tím, že jsem opravdu jako nevěděl jako od základu, prostě bylo to úplně jako moje první vlastně zkušenost z Ruby celkově. A jako Railsy jako takový na tom generovali device, logování, ale když to je přes Google, tak do psání té Google funkce, tam bylo jako potřeba. A jinak jako co by urychlilo jako Railsy jako takový, tak asi už jako nic nenapadá, krom toho generování toho jako deviceu, toho usera a to bylo asi všechno. Pak možná to, že se mi povedlo dobře najít jako gem na ten date range picker, to je asi jako další ulehčení a zrychlení času. Co tam bylo?
Když ten Wizard se nepoužil na to.
Dělá to určitě štěstí developerů?
Ano, dělá.
Já mám otázku spíš k tomu výslednímu produktu. Pochopila jsem, že to vlastně používáte v upliftingu pro vaše potřeby. A plánujete to taky dát na trh, aby to mohli používat ostatní, za prvé. A za druhé, existuje na trhu už něco podobného?
No, na trh to asi úplně plánovat zatím neplánujeme dát. Je to ze spoustu důvodů, zatím to není ani ve verzi, kdyby to bylo někomu dalšímu přínosný, jelikož tam není ta funkce těch templateů, takže vlastně jediné, co z toho člověk dostane, tak je nějaký jako summary report všech těch userů v tom projektu. A to asi není úplně jako business model, co by jako mohl být úspěšný. Zároveň další věc, že tam jako chybí dost věcí a je takový jako dost jako company custom, takže možná časem, to je spíš otázka někoho jiného.
Já to možná řeknu jako za vedení a my to moc rádi uvolníme asi jako open source, protože nemáme plán vydělávat jako na takových lidech, jak jsme když si potřebujeme vlastně jako z Togglu vlastně udělat reporty pro naše zákazníky a tak. Jenom budeme muset prověřit EULu Togglu, jestli náhodou tím, že jako to takhle integrujeme, tak jestli ji neporušujeme. Což jako vnitřně jedna věc a druhá věc, dát to ven je, prostě chceme si být jistý, že tím neporušíme nějaký, jakože tam třeba někde není vzadu na 56. stránce malým písmem napsáno, nesmíte dělat automatizační software, co agreguje reporty třeba. Tak to nejdřív prověříme a pak pravděpodobně to můžete najít do budoucna. Tweetnem o tom a bude to na našem GitHubu, pokud se tak stane.
Ok, existuje už něco podobného někde? Jako na trhu? Já vůbec jako nevím.
Placená verze Togglu, to je první věc.
A čím je teda to vaše lepší?
Že nemusíme platit Toggle. A když my svým lidem věříme, my nemáme jakoby potřebu tam mít nějaký jako takový ty buzeranský funkce, co Toggle má, a spíš vlastně potřebujeme jenom si ulehčit v back officeu práci. takže proto to vzniklo a pokud bude jenom sebemenší příležitost to jako dotáhnout, tak bychom to mohli dát ven, tak rádi. Ale musíme ověřit tu licenci, když to uděláme.
Můžu Radku ještě? Během vývoje té aplikace bylo něco, co tě vyloženě zarazilo, když jsi řekl, jako tohle to asi nedám, ten závěr?
No, jako vysloveně, že by jsem se jako něčeho tam lekl, tak asi když jsem asi tak 10 hodin, nebo ne, to ne, tak 4-5 hodin strávil nad tím, že jsem jako se snažil tam dát ten range picker a nechtěl jsem tam dát úplně jako surově a chtěl jsem použít nějaký gem a než jsem našel ten správný, jelikož tam ten jeden jako měl sice jako, že poslední update byl asi před rokem, což jako bylo už samo o sobě takový jako ne good, ale asi tak jako 4 hodiny mi trvalo, než jsem jako konečně si řekl, jako, že OK, tak tenhle se nepůjde použít a budu se ani nej. Tak jako to mě jedině jako zarazilo, nebo ne zarazilo, prostě na tom jsem se jedině jako nějak sekl deal, než jsem prostě jako se dostal k dalšímu. Ale než jako jsem vůbec nějaký další našel, tak to bylo.
Nějaká rada pro lidi, kteří by začínali s takovýmhle nějakým projektem poprvé v životě, kam se obrátit, třeba poradu, kde hledat, nebo co?
No těžko říct, jelikož jako jediná, jako, nebo kde jsem jako hledal informace, tak jsem jako Google, ale jako tam člověk jako moc jako najde, ale jakoby není to o tom si najít jako radu asi. Ale já jsem hledal radu prostě u starších kolegů, u profesně starších kolegů. A bylo myšleno, že jsem nechtěl jako urážet někoho věk nebo tak, ale čistě jako profesně jako myšleno. Takže asi tak. Prostě nejlepší a nejrychlejší rada je zajít, jako když člověk fakt se sekne a ví, že s tím nehne nebo má s tím problém hnout, tak zajít jako za někým, kdo tomu rozumí víc, co s tím má zkušenosti a nechat se poradit. Nemít jako tu pýchu a prostě jako nebejt jako ten, co si řekne, ne, já to vyřeším sám. A když prostě ví, že to nedá, tak nechat se poradit.
Já bych měl taky otázku. A jak u vás, možná to je zakázaný téma, probíhá zadávání úkolů na vývojáře jako takový, protože tohle mi přijde spíš za mě task integrace do stávajícího systému, byť si používáte nějakou Jiru a spol. Vlastně ta Jira jako má plno dat už o tom, kdo je zákazníkem, tak jestli to není spíš úloha integrace toho, a po případě, jestli máte Jiru, tak jestli jste nekoukali toggle, směr Jira, exportování dat.
Takhle, my ve firmě jako takový moc Jiru vůbec nepoužíváme a držíme se Trella, Slacku a Toglu. To je asi takový jako 3 prostě základní apky, které používáme a je to i z důvodu toho, že jako tam dost věcí, které nám prostě nevyhovují v těch apkách. Takže jsme nehledali ani jako takovýhle řešení. A Toggle nic takového nemá, takže proto to byl tenhle směr a zadávání funguje asi jako
tak jestli máš Trello, tak to je odpověď.
Ještě možná druhá je, že my se snažíme přizpůsobit zákazníkovi, že pokud zákazník má nějaký svůj šílený bazmek na zadávání issues, tak jdeme v jeho bazmeku a interně si trackujeme něčem jiným.
Jo, chápu.
Já se tak ještě tam není to asi spíš na tebe, ale proč měříte v sekundách?
Tam nejde ty sekundy spíš, ale jako v tom, že to bylo jako takový, tak ale jako v tom, ono, ne to ne, ale jakoby, proč jsem tam zmiňoval ty sekundy, tak bylo to, že normálně jako to ukazuje jako úplně v jiném formátu čísel, nebo jako v jiném formátu to zobrazuje. Ale když to člověk otevře v numbers, ten export, tak nějakou tam nejde vůbec, jako není jako ta tečka, co odděluje ty sekundy. Takže to vypadá prostě jako úplně hrozný číslo a ono to jakoby jsou minuty a zbylý sekundy. Což je ten problém, jako, co jsem v tu chvíli jako řekl špatně, ale je to zároveň to, že to neukazuje ty tečky. A kdybych otevřel to CSV jako takový, tak tam bude. To si klidně můžeme otevřít. Můžeme, ale nemůžeme se to podívat.
Kdo se pak bude chtít podívat?
Jde hlavně o to, že ten toggle funguje tak, že si člověk jako zapne tím tlačítkem start a vypne a my to mají na sekundu. Že to není takový to, když třeba do Jira issue někdo napíše, trvalo mi to 21 minut. Teď tam ty sekundy neví, protože to píše on jako manuálně, ale tím, že to je jako start stop, tak oni to měří jako
každá kačka.
Samozřejmě zákazník jsem tam překvapený, proč má platit 31 sekund. Jako,
a pak když je faktura, kde prostě třeba někdo odpracoval 197,431 hodiny, tak jako je to stejně. No.
Ale my to prostě tak, jak jsme na to globali, tak dáváme zákazníkovi a neděláme tam žádný jako...
Tak
Dobrá, tak jestli to je všechno, tak já vám děkuji za pozornost a budu se těšit na ostatní přednášky, co kdo bude.
So, good evening everyone. My name is Strnádek and I'm from eMan. My talk will be on the topic the way from Rails to React and back. I probably try to convince you that you don't need React at all or any other JavaScript frameworks which are so popular today. First thing, something about me, and before I start, I'm sorry for my English, I just translate my whole presentation 1 hour ago. It can be horrible. But I am a backend and frontend team leader in eMan. I work on University of West Bohemia on Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Last 6 years I spent time with Ruby on Rails, few moments with Node.js, and of course the front-end frameworks like React. I will probably kind of hate React in this talk, but to be sure, I like React. React is a great piece of technology. It's amazing how it's written, and like I really like it. But these days, I think the world gets crazy or gets mad, like the real world, because a lot of people are telling this is ecological car. I think it's not ecological at all. And of course the programmers world, they just start using React, Angular, Vue.js for every application they wrote. So let's start with a practical example. We have simple application, the goal of our application called personal finances. We have user management, we have some tables, sorting, searching, formulas with relations, some nice charts, and some kind of static dashboard. No tiles, just static dashboard with your personal expense. So this is the goal, what our application has to do, and we are facing the better. We are facing the technology decision. We want to use Ruby on Rails or whatever is it. Ruby on Rails or Grape. Ruby on Rails with Grape or Node.js with Express, and of course React. Because React is using on everything now in web development. Alone, that's not cool today. We use Redux or Mopix, we use styled components, and we rather skip the Webpack and Babel configuration here. So, how much work we have to do to just simple write our finance table? On the backend side, we generate some modules, we create some basic API with authorization, authentication, sorting. Sometimes we will use entities who use Grape entity or some kind of serializary. And on the front-end side, we have to write some API client which use on the background some Axios or super agent or whatever. Next thing we have to write reducers, components, data table. Probably we will find some existing implementation, and we just need to modify our data rendering. It's weird. I don't know how, but sometimes probably we will wait. And we can continue what we get after we will write those things. Model, IP authorization, we probably use that again. Entities, we probably have to think about the time formats in the future. If we want to some other people consumes our API, it would be nice to use some ISO standards of daytimes. And on the front-end side, we will API client. Let's use, we can use it again. Reducers, we probably don't use it again. Components, data table, and data rendering. Some of the future functions we wrote, we will use again. That's cool, but not all of them. Next requirements we get from our boss is to implement family accounts. Normal stuff, unfortunately, we have to write some rights mechanisms or role-based mechanisms on the back end. On the front end, we probably will publish the mechanisms through the APIs. We have different roles, key account manager of family budget, probably your wife. We want to use some basic principles like SRP, so we have right list. It means the object with all rights in our application on one place. There is an advantage if you use Node.js. You can reuse the same code, but you can do it in Rails also. You need more steps to do that, but you can just use your big hash and call to JSON on it and copy and paste into your front end. That's not so difficult. But now it's like far away from what device provides us and celkem provides for us the current user allowed helper method in all your views. Then you have some super side effects in your new finance or home budget application. You have some kind of super single page application. You are prepared for a progress web application. You can have API, everyone can call it. That's cool. And of course you have a JavaScript file with size over 1 megabytes. Probably your mobile users will love you for that. Why 1 megabytes? Because the React itself has like 120 kilobytes probably. But you don't need just the React, sorry. You also have a Redux, styled components. Sometimes you have SVGs files directly on your CSS files, or you have CSS in your JavaScript files. It's horrible for me. And CK editor, Moment.js, because your API returns ISO formats, you have to parse it and present to your user in their local time zones or in their local settings. And that's like Leporello. My son loves Leporellos. And you have a lot of work in front of you, because if you stuck with this, you have to solve the Webpack configuration for code splitting. You probably want to road-based code splitting for the biggest libraries and more and more. So the main question, did we need all of it? I think we are not. Because first thing, it's you are using probably Ruby on Rails on your backends. If you are using Rails, everything is REST. It's written on the slide. Did we need progress web application? Really? The big question is your backend ready for that? Is your backend services ready for consuming this data? I have to say I am a big fan for Firestore for it, because Firestore is ready for progress web applications, and you can use it like it's a very nice piece of software. Just the Firestore, the Firebase functions are horrible, and you have so much code. And the configuration of Webpack, that's a funny note. In our office, Webpack is a root word because we spent a really lot of time to configure it properly, even after the create React app exists. So, in this question, we probably don't need for this small application React, because we are not doing some really cool drag and drop operations. Probably we don't need a PVA for home budget application. And the next thing is my app is slow. Probably if you change your server-side views to API, it doesn't solve your problem, but fragment caching might. Redux. Who are using Redux here? Sometimes, yeah. No one. Too bad. You are using MobX or you don't write SPA at all, rather. Who writes some React application or have a React application? One. Okay. Cool. So I tried to the talk was to convince you don't need to React at all, and I'm seeing I have like over 90% success because you are not using it right now. So if you just start with React, you will see a lot of people are recommending the Redux to persist the whole state, but I think they are not using it right because they like storing literally every data from your application in it. And why? Sometimes the question, if the server does the sorting, if server does the paging, and server does the filtering, you don't really need to store it in your Redux store and fetch it all over again every time the component will show up. States components, you can use it rather than store this data in the Redux. Styled components. Everyone here see what styled component means? You are using it. Do you like it? Yeah, I have. You like it? Why?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, the guy behind you is like shaking his head. You don't like it?
I'm not using it.
You are not using it?
No, I'm not programming at all.
Okay. I was very happy someone answering me, but okay, so for the record, style components mean that you are writing a component in React and directly in your component file, JSX, TSX, whatever, you import the style sheet. The import like recognize the keys from the styles you have, and it transpile or it create an object with keys you can use it. So you don't write a class name with, I don't know, button or button hover anymore, but you are using the data you imports in the file. But if you are using it like that, you have to import those files everywhere. You want to use that, and a lot of people starts to forgetting about what letter C in cascading style sheets means. They are not using the cascade way of the style sheets anymore. It's a really big problem because it's style sheets. So you have there is a lot of alternatives. 5, 4. I have like 2 slides, so okay. There's alternatives. Of course, you can stack or use your server-side rendering with HAML slim templates. Great way. You have options like fragment caching or caching the whole page. You can use like 300 milliseconds on response. It's not a problem. And next thing, a lot of people don't know about it. You can use just React for the dynamic parts. You need chat windows, drag and drop sorts or whatever you want, like the really dynamic parts, not just few selectors in jQuery. You can use React for it. Not a problem to integrate on your server-side rendered pages. Of course, there are turbolinks. Are using it? Turbolinks. Yeah, okay. Do you like that? Yeah, super. You can use turbolinks. And from my side, that's all. I'm sorry for my English, but I try to explain what I want to say. So the biggest point here, just try to think about before you start using React on your application. If it's not like it can be a big pain before using like classical device with can or whatever authorization mechanism you are using it. So, thank you for your attention. Questions, please, someone?
Maybe I have
Okay.
Well, it's kind of beginner's question, but I know, well, the question basically is, do you like turbolinks? Because I know that it changed a lot in the version 5.
Yes, I know they just like add some they completely rewrite it to native JavaScript, they drop off the jQuery support, and they create some basic support to create a mobile application from it. Yes. It was the nice presentation from Heinemar Hansen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was nice. We are using it, but not everywhere. Sometimes there are troubles to using that. We just depends. I like them. It's a great idea, but sometimes it can be quite painful to use it.
Yes.
It's answer for your question.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with you. Thank you.
Yeah. If it's some basic application with few pages, you can use it. You can use it. You need to know. Actually, I have a Stack Overflow account, and my response with the highest number of upvotes, it's for some guy who asked, my JavaScript doesn't work in Ruby on Rails application. He was some newbie in Rails, and he starts using like document ready. So the biggest upvote points for me was to answer him. He needs to call not document ready, but turbolinks load. Yeah, everyone probably knows that who starts with turbolinks, that classic handler after a page renders doesn't work. So, any other question? Okay.
If I understood correctly, you are using some ERB helpers, and then for the client-side stuff, you will use React, like some component.
Yeah. That's the way. Sometimes you don't really want to write a whole SPA, so you just render your classic server-side views, and after that, like normal JavaScript, you just use React to render the dynamic parts there. That's not a problem. Actually, the company who stands behind React use that exactly like that.
And for doing the React components, like
yes.
You write directly the React components, or you have some ERB helpers for that?
No, we are writing directly React components in ES6, but not for whole application, just for the dynamic parts. Okay. There was another question. Okay.
You can just start small, and then when time will come, you can start using other fancy things like style components and others.
Yes, but
you do need to start with everything.
I know. Actually, in these days, we are thinking about more, or a few months ago, and we start using for really dynamic application with really complicated data tables. We start using it TypeScript with MobX, and it's like much easier for us to write those things. It's much faster, but still, if I decide to write application like the example, like just for finances, for also can be for useful everyone who knows Pandy here, it's just check application, and they're using probably Angular, I suppose, but it's like normal application with few data tables and few charts. I'll use server-side rendering. I know you can start with some smaller pieces, of course, but that's what the model example, how a lot of people does that. If you want to try to write your own personal blog post and you really want to try React, not a problem. Just do it. Just try that. Not a problem. But style components, for me, not a good thing. We are writing a UI kit right now for one of our clients, and we stand in front of possibility to use style components, but client likes that, really, But if they will be fixed only for React, that's not what they want. So they can use React components we write for them in the UI kit, but they actually can use the whole CSS file on the different page they want, like in PHP or Python. Okay, any other questions? I hope I answer your question. Okay.
I'm also pretty new to this topic, but I would like to ask, it's a very basic question. Do you think it is important to write, when you write a website, for example, that it's still possible to use the site without JavaScript?
I'm not sure if I understand. You mean use your site with JavaScript disabled? Disabled?
Yes, exactly. Because I have the experience. I, for example, have normally JavaScript disabled in my browser as a standard, and most of the pages don't work. But I thought it would be the standard normally to have JavaScript as an addition if you want to enable dynamic features.
Yeah, I probably understand you, and the question is...
If you think it's important to have...
JavaScript enabled by default.
No, if it is important to... if it is necessary to make a website without, working without JavaScript.
No. I think you will be probably able, on some web pages, it's like really necessary to write the whole website with JavaScript disabled. For example, if someone here saw the Apache web page or Nginx web page, they are designed to work in e-links, so you will be able to read the page in the server rooms with your terminal alone.
Okay.
I hope that's the answer. Okay, thank you. We have 4 minutes and 8 seconds, so I can say thank you everyone for your attention, and I hope we'll see on the next Rails Grills. Thank you so much.
Hello, I am not actually a machine learning engineer or something like that. I will work on it in the next years, but right now I am actually Android developer, so neural networks are just the interest of mine, and I would like to explain to you how they work. So first of all, does anyone here know anything about neural networks or machine learning? And how much do you know? On scale 0 to 10, like, yeah, that's, I know maybe a little bit more, but I don't want to be too confident. So let's get to it. Well, unfortunately, to understand neural networks, you will have to know a little bit of math. So who knows calculus, like derivatives, and you know how to derive a function? Almost everyone? Well, almost. So I will explain you the basic concept. We have let's say we have a function, and derivative tells us how steep the function is. So in this example, we are on the green dot, and the purple dot shows us the value of the derivative. And if we move on the curve, the purple dot will show us if the function is, how steep is the function. So if I go here, the function is getting steeper, so the derivative increases. And if it's steep like to the other side, the derivative is opposite. And if we are at the bottom, the derivative will be 0. So that's what we need to know about calculus. The other thing we will use is a sigmoid function. The formula looks complicated, but it's actually a simple function. If you input any number to it, it will return a value between 0 and 1, and that's it. If it's a high value, like 500, 5,000, it will be 1. If it's 5, it's almost 1, like you can see. If it's 0, it will be
0.5, that's here. And if it's a really small number, it will get closer and closer to 0, and that's it. And if you would be an expert in machine learning or neural networks, you also need to learn linear algebra, but that's only because when you write the equations for the neural nets in linear algebra, the code is shorter and you can optimize the program using CUDA cores on your graphics card. So we will not use linear algebra in this presentation. So what actually is a neural network? Well, these, I will use the fake laser pointer. These are the neurons, and each neuron, and you have layers of neurons. In this case, there are 3 layers, and neurons in each layer are connected to each neuron in the second layer using these weights. Each connection has a weight, and for example, this connection has a weight of 0.8. And the whole process takes 2 steps. One step is called forward propagation, and that basically means that you input something, and then the weights calculate the values of each neuron in next layer, and then the weights in the next layer calculate the output. And that's forward propagation, and back propagation is the way the weights are trained, and we will explain that in detail. To have an idea what could be an input and output of a neural net, let's say we have a picture that's 32 by 32 pixels. So if you multiply that, you will get 1024 pixels, and each pixel has 3 parts, the red, green, and blue. So you also multiply by 3 colors, and then you have 3072 numbers. And you can make these you can make one huge vector, and this vector would be the first layer in this neural net. There will be 3000 units, and this is a really small image. So like Google has huge networks which have, if you want to analyze a picture that has like thousands of pixels on each side, you will have million input neurons. So neural nets can get pretty big. And the output neuron would be something you want to know. For example, you can have just one output neuron. They would say 1 if it's a dog, if there is a dog on the picture, and 0 if there's not. What?
Hot dog.
Hot dog?
0.5. And not hot dog.
Yeah, I know that series, but I did not watch it. So let's go through the forward propagation. Let's say we have calculated the weights. We have a neural net with calculated weights, and first thing we do, we insert the input values. In our case, that would be 0.35 and 0.9. The next thing, we will calculate the values in the next neuron, and we do that by taking the weight and then multiply it with the value of the neuron. Then we take the second weight, multiply it with the value of the previous neuron. Then we add that together, it's this, and then we apply the sigmoid function from the previous slides, so the result will be in the range of 0 to 1. We do that same thing for the second neuron, and then we calculate the output neuron just like the 2 before. And that's it. That's forward propagation. I have a small demonstration. This is the site that I've built. And as you can see, there are some random weights. The color indicates the weight. It doesn't really matter. And if I change the input value, you can see that the neurons in the other 2 layers are changing. The values are changing. Now let's get to the difficult part, how to train such neural network. Well, it can be complicated, so we set ourselves a very simple goal, and that would be we want this neural net to output value 0.5 for not every single, for this particular input, we would like the neural net to output 0.5. So how do we do that? Well, we define a cost function that will tell us how good our neural net is. That would be our result, what we calculate, in this case, that 0.69, and minus the target, that's 0.5. And as you can see, the closer we get to the target, the lower the cost will be. So in this case, the cost would be something like 0.01805. And now the question, how should we change the weights in a way that it decreases the cost? Does anyone have idea how would we do that?
For example,
randomly. Yeah, that's one idea, but I think I have a better one. Well, we do that using derivatives. Yeah. Actually, the cost function, it's function just like any other function. So what we do is that we take a derivative of the cost function with respect to any of these weights. So we have this function, and there are, as you can see, there are 6 variables. Those are the weights. And now we just need to take the derivative, and when we have the derivative, we can change the weight in a way that will decrease the cost function. I have again the derivation here, and for example, let's say, imagine that the red line is the cost function, and on the x-axis would be some of our weights. So we start randomly, and we are, let's say, here. And we then ask ourselves, should we increase the weight or decrease the weight to lower the cost function? Well, we take the derivative, and that tells us, okay, it's steep in this direction, so you should go opposite direction of the derivative. So we will move slightly to the left. If we would be on the other side, as you can see, the derivative is lower, so we would go to the right, and we get lower to the minimum of the function, which is the desired outcome.
So probably you should use second derivative, which finds the local minimum.
Well, that's a good idea to use the second derivative, but actually you cannot do that when you are training a neural network because of computational problems. That would be, in large neural net, the computation of the second derivative would be too difficult.
It's more costly than iterative approach using
yeah.
direction taken from
yeah, I would say it's maybe even impossible for in our time to compute that. So we just take the first derivative and move slightly in the one direction. Yeah.
So then the random access, which I proposed before, is just twice as costly.
Well, it's not twice as costly. This is a better approach because we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, but I will definitely find wrong direction in next step.
Yeah, but you need to make this step multiple times. Like, let's say, 1,000,000 times you would repeat this step. So
but it's still
if it would be random, you would be just going from one side to another, and you wouldn't actually ever get to the minimum of the function. While in this approach,
no. If you are going randomly left or right and throw the wrong steps and make the steps more little and little in each iteration, you will get the minimum.
I'm not sure if I understand you correctly, but if you are changing the weights randomly, you will not get to the minimum for each weight.
The problem is to throw the result if you made the wrong step, because it may be also complicated with like memory access and so on.
Okay, I think I understand what you are saying now, but you will do this for a lot of weights. So
But
yeah,
it seems to me that it's just twice as
yeah, you could try to slightly change the weight in one direction, and you will get similar results. But another thing with the derivative is that it tells you how steep it is. So the steeper if you are really off, the derivative will be large and the step will be bigger. So it's not just like 50-50, it's even better for the derivatives to use them. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, I was not sure if I should put this slide in here, but it will help you it will remind a lot of you from the high school times how to derive a function. So, does anyone who remembers these rules, like the chain rule? And okay, that's not a lot of people. So sorry, you will probably not get the how to derive, how to compute the derivative, but you will get the idea. How to compute the derivative for the cost function. So we want to, let's say we start with weight 10. This is this one, and we ask ourselves a question. Okay, how should we change this weight to decrease the cost? So we take the derivative. So this is just me applying the rules described in the previous slide. I will not go through it, and we get a result. That's a very small number. And what we do with that number is, as I described before, we will subtract it from the previous from the current value, and we will in this way we will decrease the weight. So the new weight is 0.272. And we do this exactly the same thing for each of the weights. And now we have a new neural net. This neural net has different weights than the previous one. And now we can do a check if it actually works. So we do, again, forward propagation. We take the weights and multiply it with the previous neuron, then we add them together, apply the sigmoid function, we get some number. We do that for each one of the neurons. And now we can compare the cost. So old error was 0.69 minus 0.5, and it was something like this. And the new error actually decreased. So, and that's it. That's that's the main idea behind neural net and computer vision. Like, if you understand this whole thing until here, you could maybe write a software that would recognize dogs from pictures. And it's so simple. Like, if you would try to write that software without neural nets or with some other methods, you would not be as successful, and you could try really hard and it will not ever work. But then you can just make a neural net, train it in this way, and you will write that piece of code, and you will, I don't know, you can write software for self-driving cars with that, and that wasn't possible before. So finishing up, as I said, the backpropagation step, when we slightly decrease the weight or increase the weight in a direction that lowers the cost, this can be a lot of iterations. Maybe you have read the articles about Google and OpenAI training their neural nets on thousands of GPUs for multiple days. So what they are doing is just repeating that one step where they are decreasing the cost until it kind of works. Another question you might have is, what if we have more output neurons? Well, we just slightly change the cost function, and now the cost is sum of errors in the last layer. So we can have 5 output neurons, and for example, we can write software that recognizes a picture of a hand. If I'm showing one finger, it should output, the first neuron should light up. If I use 2 fingers, the first 2 neurons should light up, and the cost, and this is how we define the cost of that function. And this sum actually does not really make the derivative as harder. If you know how to derive, you will know that if you have sum of two functions, the derivative is not that difficult to compute. And every time we use a neural net, we usually have many training samples. Like, let's say you can have a million of training samples, for example. If you want to train a dog classifier, just a neural net that recognizes dogs, you will, let's say you will input 10,000 pictures of dogs, and the one output neuron would be 1 for these pictures, and then you will have another 10,000 pictures, and that would just be pictures of not dogs, and then the output neuron would be 0. And the cost function, again, you just put one simple sum there, and you sum over all the training samples. Few more things, common problems and how to solve them. Overfitting, that's one of them. That means that you train your neural net, but it's, I would not say too good, but the error would drop to 0. You have a 0 error. And that's because when you train a large neural net for too long, and you don't have any regularization, as I have here, what will happen is that the neural net will learn just the pictures you put in the training set. And then you show a picture of another dog, and the neural net will say, okay, that's not a dog, it's not in my training set. So how to solve it? You add a parameter that prevents your net from doing that. I don't know what's the proper intuition, but it just works. Another thing that could happen, underfitting. Our dog classifier doesn't recognize any dogs. Well, too bad, you just need to build a bigger neural network, give it a longer training time, get more data. And what else could happen? It's training too slow. Well, you introduce a learning rate, alpha, and you just multiply the derivative by this learning rate. If you wanted to train faster, you would increase it. But then again, what could happen is that you overshoot and you move too much on the function, so you don't reach the local minimum ever. So you have to be careful when choosing this parameter. And yeah, I was talking about the sigmoid function. That's this one. That's minor detail, but you can also see different functions being used instead of the sigmoid function, like 10H and ReLU. Actually, the most popular now is the third one. It's really simple, but I don't think it's as intuitive as the sigmoid, so I used sigmoid in this presentation. And that's it. And what I want to show you now is this website. This is the one I built. You can play with it. You can, as you can see, there is a training set. You can, for example, teach this neural net to do the exclusive or logical operation. So as you can see, there is input 1, 1, and output is 0. Input 1, 0, output 1, and so on. All of here know what exclusive OR is, so I will just train it, repeat, and now it looks good. So now, as you can see, if the input is 1, 1, output is 0. If I change the inputs, the output value changes properly. And you can also play with this. You can add more neurons in the hidden layer. You can add more layers, and then you will see that it will not work if you add too many layers. This is not working. It's 0.5. And if you want another neural network playground, there is one by Google. It's just fun to play with it. I think it's a little bit more confusing than mine, but it looks nicer. And if you have any questions, how long it's not working?
Google broke it.
Okay, so mine's nicer, so you just use mine.
Google one is like a black screen or something like that.
Do you have any questions? No? I told you it's very simple. Okay.
You said that this one function you described is very essential for neural networks.
Which one? The
I guess yes.
Well, at the end, on this slide, I told you that there are multiple functions, and you can use. This one is the most popular now, so it's not essential. But what is essential is that the function is non-linear, because otherwise it would not work, because it would be a linear function, and you don't want that. So that would. I'm probably not capable of explaining it properly, but if you had just a linear function instead of a ReLU or sigmoid, and it would be just a line like y equals x, then the function would not mathematically be capable of learning complex functions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't really make a question out of it, so when this is really like in a way essential function, then it should be used in every neural network, I guess.
Yeah, I would say every neural net uses one of these, or some neural nets even combine a lot of these functions. Like, I would say it's maybe common to use this one in the hidden layers, and then you use this one for the output, because the output is nice value between 0 and 1, for example. Okay?
Do you use neural networks in uplifting during your work?
No, I'm just interested in topics, so I learned how they work. But Ratya wants to make a AI division one day, so but we have time for that. Okay, thank you then.